What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Truth, where today we're going to be covering this week's college football, or last week's college football game, technically last week's, and then this coming week's games, which are going to be really interesting. I'm really excited to get into. First game we got on the board is Georgia versus Florida. Now, how I thought about it and how a lot of people thought about it is this is a potential game where Florida could upset Georgia. Nope. Still looks like the Georgia of old. Dominating win. Like to see their defense do a little bit better at the end, but still dominating win. 43-20. I mean, it was a great game by them offensively, which was very surprising for me. I didn't think it was going to be this large of a gap offensively. I thought it was going to be a closer game, but good for them. Now, I did say that this Ohio State and Wisconsin game was going to be close. That was going to be a little bit closer. That was going to be a one-position game, but this isn't surprising. The 2 interceptions suck, but, you live with what you get. Look, Ohio State just has to keep winning. Keep winning, because Florida State put a good one on the board. Keep winning. Keep proving why you should be number 3. You'd like to see a little bit better, but Wisconsin isn't a bad team. They're 5-2. They're not a bad team. Next is Florida State versus Wake Forest. Let's talk about this. Great game by Florida State. And at what point is Florida State going to keep putting up these wins to where it's like, Ohio State did play a close game with the better team, but Florida State's just dominating. You like to see a score in that third quarter, but they dominated. I mean, what do you want them to do? It was 34-7. You want to see I don't know if they put in their backups or not, but you want to see them put together a good win. That was a good win for them. And the more good wins that they have, the more at the end of the season we're going to look at them like, should Florida State be third? Should they? Should they be second? Because eventually Michigan and Ohio State are going to play each other. Bearing in mind the whole situation with Michigan right now that's going on. But we'll see. Washington versus Stanford, a lot closer game than I ever thought. Washington put up 33 points. I didn't think this was going to be a close game. I thought Stanford put up 33 points. I thought Washington was just going to wipe the floor with Stanford. A lot closer game. Michael Penix Jr. did have that interception. Going to want to look at it over film-wise. But, it is what it is. You're not going to have a perfect season. But good game offensively for Washington State. It's just you wish you could see that defense do better. Going into the next game, we have Kansas versus Oklahoma, and Kansas pulls off the upset. Holy cow. Originally we were going into the rest of the season thinking, okay, probably going to be Oklahoma and Texas rematch. But now that's a lot closer. It's not just, winning out. It's, oh, shoot, we have to play really well. Because now originally it was, you have a slip-up game. Oh, well, this was your slip-up game. It's over now. You have to play perfect if you're Oklahoma or Texas. Texas knew this originally, but now Oklahoma knows this. You have to play perfect so that way you can potentially make it into the playoffs as a one-loss team. That's how it is. Texas has a dominant win over BYU. And this was very surprising for me. I didn't think Texas was going to do this well offensively. I thought maybe defensively it was going to be a close defensive battle, but I was totally wrong. And I give credit to Texas. They were surprising. They did well. On offense, they did well. Surprised. Keep it up. I don't know how long Quinn Ewers is going to be up. Keep it up till he gets back. Oregon defeats Utah, and Utah drops to 6-2. I think that'll probably knock them out of the playoffs unless something crazy happens. Oregon, a dominating win. This is a win that they needed, to keep them in contention. Keep them in contention, keep them fighting out. Indiana versus Penn State. Penn State beats them. Another close game that I was very surprised that Indiana only had 2 wins, and they almost upset Penn State. If it wasn't for that last drive, Indiana very well, we could have seen Indiana come back, put it in overtime, may possibly win it. Like Penn State almost got upset here, and I think that's going to hurt them. That's going to hurt them top 4 wise to try to break into the playoffs. We'll see how it ends because they still only have 1 loss, but we'll see. Like this game could very well be the reason Penn State does not make it into the playoffs this year. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Another upset. Oregon State loses to Arizona. Big, big, big. And the reason I say it's big because all these teams who are dropping to 2-6, guess what? LSU's putting together a good game. They're putting together good games. They're winning lots of them, and they keep moving forward. So it's tough. Like, do we really think that these teams who dropped to 6-2 are as good as LSU or Notre Dame, who has 2 losses? It's tough to say, yeah, we really think it. It's just they had a bad game. It's like, no, well, you lose to Arizona while LSU's lost to Ole Miss and I'm trying to think, Ole Miss and Florida, who's ranked 4th in the nation. Ole Miss is ranked, I think they jumped up but they were ranked 12th. It's these teams where it's like, comparing the 2 schedules and 2 records, like I think you put them lower, and I think that might knock them out because the only teams I really see, the only teams who could possibly sneak in right now at 2 losses, to be honest, are LSU and Notre Dame. Notre Dame, maybe we'll see. I don't really know. They have to put up like we'll get into Notre Dame in a little bit, but they have to put together really good wins to really say yeah. And then you also have to have a team drop a game, drop a 1-loss team, drop another game. Well, here's how I should say this. You basically would have to have a lot of 2-loss teams, like basically no 1-loss teams for Notre Dame, in my opinion, to make it in. But look, this sucks for Oregon State. You had your chance and you kind of blew it by a field goal. But hey, move on, get better, recruit better. You still finish out the season. Go get a bowl game. Vandy versus Ole Miss. Beat down by Ole Miss. Now, I think going into this, I did think there was a slight possibility that Vanderbilt could do something. They did not. Ole Miss dominated. You don't like to see that interception by Jason Dart. But hey, a dominant win. And that's what you need for Ole Miss. Keep putting together dominant wins. Now, I know next week it's going to be a little interesting to see what happens because they do play an SEC team is not terrible. But, you want to see them put to dominant wins because they can keep playing dominant wins. Guess what? I think Bama has the upset, but Bama plays LSU this week. And we'll get more into what happens. But I mean, we'll get. Pause. Sorry, guys. We'll get into more of all the possibilities that can happen. But let's say Bama loses that game. Well, guess what? You're 7-1. You keep putting together dominant wins, and you stay dominant. Well, guess what? Now you only have one. You're the only 1-loss team in that division of the SEC. And guess what? You get to play Georgia, or if you beat Georgia, you'll rematch them, and you can prove to them why you should be a top 4 team and potentially in the playoffs for Ole Miss. That's big. It's big for them. They need to keep doing what they're doing. Going back to Notre Dame, Notre Dame just has to win out. Notre Dame has to win out and win out well. Against Pittsburgh, they're not the best team, but they dominated. They need to keep having these games. Keep having dominant offensive and defensive games. That's what you need. North Carolina, going back to Oregon State, I think they're probably knocked out. Like that's tough. It's tough, especially to lost to Georgia Tech by 4. It really is tough. Drake May, he's been playing well. I think statistically he's been playing well. So tough loss. You fall to 6-2. Still have a bowl game. Still play. You still have things to play for. A dominant win by Louisville. You're 7-1, baby. You can sneak into the playoffs, especially when you have a top 25 team who you beat pretty decently. You like to see it 28-0. Hey, oh well. You beat them 23-0. You'll take it. Put together more dominant wins. Air Force staying undefeated. Holy cow. they're gonna jump up in the rankings, but my rankings and in the top 25 rankings, AP top 25 rankings, but they beat Colorado State. This was a game where I don't know really where Air Force is. They're putting together a record, or they're putting together a story where, yeah, we're that dogs. We're them dogs in the Mountain West. Put us on your map because we're those dogs, and you gotta respect it. Tennessee not down upsets. Tennessee takes down Kentucky. This was a game they needed to stay in that top 25. You want to stay at top 25. You get recruiting. You get notices. You get bowl games. It helps recruiting, helps funding for your school. Keep staying in that top 25. Other than that, 33-27. Two teams who were both at 5-2. Close game. You love to see it. Tulane versus Rice, a close game, a very close game by Tulane, but they slip out with a victory. Almost lost this in the fourth quarter. Like, they did not play a good half, that second half. But hey, offensively, you live with it. You won. You move on to the next week. Oh boy, Colorado. They started out really hot in the beginning and then just have not done well in the Pac-12. And it's tough because from my personal perspective, I thought Colorado could have been a team who was, okay, we're not going to win. We're not going to go to the playoffs this year. Hey, we're at least going to hang in with a Pac-12. And they haven't. And it's tough. They have more losses than they did last year. Give Dion credit. But it makes sense, but it's tough to see because you want to see this Colorado team do well. They were kind of their Cinderella story, and it didn't happen. USC, another game where it's like, come on, defense. It's tough because if they had a good defense, they're probably undefeated. But they don't. Sucks. But you win by one score. You win by one score. You live to see another week at top 25. And you want to stay top 25, just like Tennessee, to get recruiting, to get funding, all that good stuff. James Madison. Oh my gosh. How much longer are they going to stay undefeated? 5-0 in the Sun Belt. Win a close game. But still undefeated. I don't believe they can make the playoffs because I do believe James Madison transferred this year. Or there's a first year transferring, so I don't think they are playoff eligible this year. But look, recruiting-wise, and ranking for next year, you go undefeated next year and you get recruits. Look, dog, you play in the Sun Belt. There's a very good chance that you could be going into next year and just be an undefeated team who really, schedule-wise, doesn't deserve it, but be a playoff team, a high-ranking playoff team who could potentially get a bye. I think that's how that works for next year's playoffs. Mm-hmm. Going into next week, some good games. Rutgers, who's been doing surprisingly well this year, 6-2 against Ohio State. I expect something similar to last week. I expect probably Ohio State to win by a little bit more, but something similar to what we saw from Ohio State last week. Other than that, it could be a close game. Check in on it. We'll see. Kansas State versus Texas. This is a game I probably tune into. Don't know if Quinn Ewers is going to play. But man, this is a top 25 Kansas team who could both 4-1 in the Big 12. These are two teams who could, if Texas loses, Kansas could very well. We could see Kansas try to steal that Big 12 spot. We'll see. But this is a game Texas needs. This is a game Kansas needs. It's going to be interesting to see. This is a game I'd circle at 11 o'clock. Another game at 11 o'clock I'd circle too is Texas A&M versus Ole Miss. Now, you might be thinking, Texas A&M versus Ole Miss, how could that be close? Texas A&M isn't terrible this year. I don't remember the record last year, but Texas A&M put off a couple upsets that surprised a lot of people. Does this happen again? I don't know. But Ole Miss needs to win this game because if Ole Miss drops this game, well, guess what? If LSU beats Alabama, don't think Ole Miss will make the playoffs. Don't think they'll make a chance to take on Georgia and or whoever wins that part of the conference and make the playoffs. That's a big thing. Georgia needs this game. I mean, Ole Miss needs this game, and Texas A&M. Well, shoot, you beat Ole Miss. There's a chance you could sneak in the top 25. That's recruiting. That's coaching staff. That's coaches who might want to come to Texas A&M saying, their previous coaches aren't doing the best. I think I can do better. Or maybe a coach who knows who can do better. Just like how LSU got their coach, could be the same way when you're competing now. You're a top 15 team competing for the playoffs now. It could just happen like that. So you need a good game right here. Could potentially be the switch for you. Both teams have a lot on stake. Another game I'd circle at 11. Notre Dame versus Clemson. I don't know how to feel about this game. Just because I don't know how to feel about Clemson. I like what Notre Dame's doing. I think they're going to have a good game. With that being said. UConn versus Tennessee. Let's be realistic and move on. Arizona State, surprisingly, they haven't been doing terrible. It's a game I'll watch out for Utah, but this game also Utah should take care of business. Army versus Air Force. Air Force, look, keep winning because you can sneak in. You can sneak into that top 4 spot, be undefeated, and make the playoffs. Get recruiting. Like to these teams who we don't think are going to be championship contenders, who could possibly sneak in the playoffs, go beat TCU. You don't have to win a game, but shoot, you get recruits. TCU has gotten more recruits. TCU hasn't had the best season this year, but next year they could be back at it because of the recruits they've drawn in, who have gotten better, the transfers who have gotten better. That could possibly be how it is. But with that being said, you need to keep winning. This is a game where you need to beat Army, who isn't really good. Beat them, continue to win. Oh, we circle this game. Georgia hasn't been playing the best. They've had up and downs. They have an up and down season. Circle this game. Circle it, highlight it, because if Georgia loses, we could potentially see Missouri at the top 4 spot. With all jokes aside, no, this is a very big game because if Georgia does lose, I'm pretty sure Missouri leaves that part of the conference. And if they win out, guess what? Missouri's in the playoff now. That's huge. That's really freaking huge. So this is a game I'd circle. A lot on the table. And when that happens, a lot of the time when it's 2 good teams, it's going to be a good game, baby. So that's why I'd circle. 2:30. Florida State versus Pittsburgh, for being honest. What do you guys really think? Penn State versus Maryland. I'd keep an eye on it. I wouldn't go out and say Maryland's gonna upset Penn State. It's gonna be one of those sleeper games. I'm not gonna go out and say that. Just keep an eye on it. Could really deceive you. That game's also at 2:30. A game I'd circle, I'd highlight: Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State wins this game. Top 25, Oklahoma falls out. Law on the table, just like Missouri versus Georgia. Got my highlight, I'd circle to watch. That game's also at 2:30. Sorry, I forget. That being said, Virginia Tech versus Louisville could be a close ACC game. Could also be a decent one. I really don't know how to feel about this game, but it's in Louisville. So, if you really like the ACC, turn in and watch it. But I don't know if this will necessarily be a game you want to mark on your list. Tulane versus East Carolina. Let's be honest. Let's move on. James Madison versus Georgia. If you're really into those playoffs and how it's scheduled, you're really interested in that. This game I'd circle. Could be a close, fun game. But I mean, hey, it's Georgia State versus James Madison. What do we really expect? You know, could be close, could be fun to watch just as a chewer, just while you're maybe waiting. Maybe if you don't want to watch the other teams, maybe you're waiting for your team to play, or if they've already played and you want to tune something on the back while you're doing something on a good Saturday, throw this game in on there. Or if you want to root for the underdogs to make the to finish and potentially make the playoffs next year, throw that game on there. California versus Oregon. It's what it is. That's how the schedule is. Now it is supposed to be raining, but it's what the weather is. It's what it is. It's 4:30. You know, Kansas versus Iowa State. Circle it, highlight it, do what you got to do. There are a lot of good games this week. This is a game that could be really close. And shake up the Big 12 a little bit. Iowa State is 4-1. They have 2 losses outside of the Big 12. They won this game. They could sneak in top 25. If you're an Iowa State or Kansas fan, tune in. Or if you just want a good game, a potential good lane, tune in. The line's -1 for Iowa State. Purdue versus Michigan. Dog, let's be honest. If Michigan is cheating, this should be a beatdown, like insane beatdown. It's like the line's 33. No, I might take over the line. Like, let's be honest. USC versus Washington. Oh, this is probably going to be a shootout. If Caleb Williams plays bad and not, but in all honesty, it's probably going to be a shootout. I'd probably take less on the line of Washington -4. I could be wrong. Don't trust me with these bets, by the way. Do not trust me. I don't know anything more than you do. But this could be a shootout. This could be a fun game to tune into. 6:30. Mark it on your list. Dot it up. Do what you got to do. Another game where you mark it on your list. You dot it up. Arguably one of the most anticipated games this week. LSU versus Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Look, LSU upset Bama this year, and Bama is favored, but I don't know if all of America favors Alabama. This LSU team is a high-scoring team, and I've said this week in, week out. You're probably going to get 2 or 3 stops on LSU all game. They're going to put up a lot of points. Can you keep up with them is the question for Alabama. Can you force turnovers if you're Alabama? If not, I don't think you win this game. And that's the big question here, is how much is Alabama going to be able to keep up and score with LSU? That's the question. Other than that, LSU is arguably the best offense at all of college football. There's going to be a big test for this Bama defense and a big test for this Alabama offense to see how many mistakes are you going to make. Alabama has 1 or 2 turnovers a game. That could be the game. So it's going to be really interesting to tune in and watch. Honestly, I do think anything could happen in this game. But, this is a game. If you're looking for the one game where you don't want to miss, I'd probably circle this game. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. I could also be wrong too. So, but I think this is going to be a fun game. Oregon State versus Colorado. I don't know how to feel about Colorado anymore. Don't mind what Oregon State's doing. They did lose. This could be a bounce-back game for Oregon State. But this could also be a statement win for Colorado. It's at 9 o'clock. If you're just chilling, and you want to watch something, throw that game on. Or you could throw this 9:30 one at FS1. UCLA versus Arizona. This is probably going to be a good game. 62 and 5-3. Close teams. Teams with an even record on the Pac-12. I like the line -1.5. It's probably going to be a close game. It's going to be a fun one. And, that's the video. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you didn't like. Are there things you want me to talk about that I'm missing? I'm trying out different formats for these videos. Do you like this format? Do you not like it? Let me know. My plan is for Tuesday is to have a game where we can have, well, not a game, a video where we can have my reactions to the records, to AP Top 25 records, and then my records, how I have them going in. And then Wednesday post my predictions for the week for NFL. Let me know. Do you like what I'm doing? Do you not like game wise? What am I missing? What am I not missing? What do you think you agree with? What don't you agree with? Let me know. I really want to hear some feedback on your opinions because I want to create a channel where we can communicate back and forth with each other and grow as a community and as understanding our as a person who can understand college football and football in general. I have a lot of ideas for this channel, a lot of things I want to accomplish, but it really helps out if I get feedback. So please, thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.